Hello, everyone. My name is Joseph Tang, and I'm happy to welcome you to a rebranded podcast, which is titled Pirouettes and Perspectives, presented by Creative Generations. That took a lot of takes, I'm not going to lie. Creative Generations is a dance mentorship program that I have been trying out for the past month and a half, and I will touch upon that more later. So, the last podcast I did, which was about 2 years ago, was titled What the Heck Do I Dance For? Which I'm not crazy about that name, and I wasn't crazy about how I formatted the podcast, and I am not proud of how I hosted it at the time. The reason why I started that podcast was because at the time I was going through a rough patch. Audition season had just started. I wasn't sure if I wanted to continue dancing. So, I did what any normal person would do, and I created a podcast which focuses on the voices of pre-professional dancers and talking about why they still dance and talking about their struggles in the dance world. Now, I'm happy to say I'm an apprentice with Sacramento Ballet for its 70th season this year, and I am now a lot happier, a lot less stressed, and I'm in a good place to bring the podcast back. And part of the rebranding for this podcast is I now have a new co-host. Hi, Emma.
What's up?
Introduce yourself.
My name's Emma Wessel. I'm originally from Kansas City, Kansas. I am 20 years old, and I'm a SB2 at Sacramento Ballet.
Yes. I am so excited for Emma to be my co-host. A little background on how we know each other. Last season, in our 23-24 season, when I was still an SB2 with Sac Ballet, Emma joined the program as a trainee. And, after 2 shy months, we quickly became very close friends. And I'm very happy to say that Emma is one of my closest friends here in SAC now. And Emma is also a part of Creative Generations. Okay. Lastly, I want to touch on our mission for this podcast. Our mission for Pirouettes and Perspectives is to have a genuine and honest conversation with fellow dancers that lets pre-professional dancers have a voice in the dance world, while also informing the listener and letting them know that they aren't alone on the common struggles and experiences that we all share as dancers. Oh, so with that being said, let's start the episode off. And what better way to start episode 1 of Pirouettes and Perspectives is by interviewing my new co-host, Emma. Are you ready, Emma?
I think so. Let's do it.
Well, first of all, how do you feel about being the co-host for Pirouettes and Perspectives?
Yeah, I'm really excited. I've always really loved listening to podcasts, and so I'm excited to now be on the opposite end creating one. But I'm really excited to just talk to fellow dancers and just kind of get their perspective. Kind of like what you were saying, why you even started your original podcast was just, it can be very healing listening to people that have the same experiences as you and can just relate on so many things that not a lot of people can. And so it's I'm excited to have this podcast for other people to kind of share space with us.
Good, I'm glad to hear that. All right, let's jump into our questions. What got you into dance, and how long ago was that?
Yeah, so I've been dancing for 15 years. So I've been dancing for pretty much my whole life, which is kind of crazy to think about. But what originally got me into dance was when I was 5 years old. I just decided to start liking dance in the living room. I would do somersaults, run into the couch. I would just do everything possible, swirl. I would run and leap across the grocery store aisles. Like it was just always something that I loved to do. And so my mom was like, okay, we need to put her into dance. So she put me into a recreational studio where I learned a bunch of kind of styles. Like I learned hip hop, jazz, musical theater. all of those. And I did do ballet, but it wasn't something that I was really super serious about. And
Hmm.
then when I was in middle school, I just wanted a change. I wanted a new studio because I always wanted dance to be my career. Even when I didn't know it could be a career, I was just like, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. So that's what I did is I went to a ballet school and it stuck, and now I'm here.
Nice.
Yeah.
So once you got into dancing, what got you to where you are now?
Yeah, so I started ballet in 6th grade, and like I said, it stuck. It was something that for some reason I loved. It was completely different to what I liked, and I was really, really bad at it. Like I didn't have my point shoes. I just like for some reason was really bad at it, and I was like, yes, this is what I want to stay with. And I worked really, really hard. And I then at 16 got into University of North Carolina School of the Arts in their high school program. And I finished my junior and senior year there. And that was honestly probably one of the greatest experiences. I was around other fellow artists that could understand being passionate about their art enough to move away
Hmm.
at a young age and just live our art every single day, which is really inspiring. And then after that, I got a traineeship at Ballet Idaho, and I stayed there for a year. And then after that, I moved to Sacramento and I became a trainee, met Joseph. Uh, and then this year, I got promoted to an SB2. And so that's where I am now.
Nice. Can you describe your time at UNCSA?
Yeah, so it was a lot different. In high school, like before I went to UNCSA, it was like I feel like I didn't really fit in. I was always dance, 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 and no one else could really relate to that. So when I went to UNCSA and there was other people that could relate to it, it was very nice. I met some of my closest friends that I still talk to this day. I met wonderful people and teachers that pushed me to be the best. I just had it was just a wonderful experience for me. I mean, I know that that's not for everyone, but I just very much cherished my time there. We were able to I my senior year I only took 2 academic classes, which was amazing.
Oh, nice.
And yeah, and then everything else was dance related or just preparing for my future, which was very nice.
Gotcha.
Mhm.
And how did you get into UNCSA's high school program?
Yeah, so I auditioned online. So I actually missed the deadline by a few days, but by the grace of God, they still let me audition, which was amazing. So that was really nice. And then I submitted my video, letter of recommendation, all of that stuff. And thank you to my old high school teachers that literally wrote my letter of recommendations overnight because if
Oh,
not,
wow.
like, yeah, they they were very helpful. I think that was the best part is that I had high school teachers that knew that I was passionate and they did everything to support me, even though they didn't understand it, which was also really good. Um, and so I think that also helped me like want to push for more as well. But yeah, I auditioned and then I got in. And the way I got in is as soon as everything shut down. So the week that COVID
Hmm.
hit and school was out for a week, is when I got my letter saying that I got in. And, COVID was not an easy time for a lot of people. So I didn't know if that was going to be possible. I didn't know if they were going to even let us go back on campus. And then we were able to go back on, and I was able to go, and it was very nice.
So UNCSA is an art school for both high
Mhm.
school and college students. What made you decide to not want to do their college program?
Yeah, so I have never been a scholar student for some reason. I nothing really wanted me. I never really wanted to go to college,
Hmm.
which is surprising because now I'm getting a college degree while I'm dancing. But that's besides the point. college never really interested me. I was just like, I want to go straight into dance. I want to experience it to make sure that's something I actually want to do, you know?
Hmm.
And you know, I almost did have to stay at UNCSA, but I got lucky and I got an offer from Ballet, Idaho. So
Nice. And so
yeah.
you're at Ballet, Idaho, the following year. Can you
Yeah.
describe your time and experience there?
Yeah. So I've never been to Idaho, and it was in Boise. So love that city. It was amazing. I met some really great friends, still talk to some of them, and they're still very much close to my heart. That overall experience was very fun. They were a lot more contemporary, which was, in my opinion, I love contemporary. So it was very therapeutic and it was just nice. And yeah, I loved the staff. I liked the director. I liked the people I was around, the city, everything about it was very nice. I enjoyed my time there for sure.
Nice. And what made you decide to leave Valley, Idaho?
Yeah, so the only reason why I left was just I was tall for their company. And Garrett was very honest with me, just basically being like, you are tall, so it's going to be a while until I can promote you. And so I decided to see other things, but I also didn't want to be stuck at one place. You know, I wanted to see what else was out there, especially since that was
Hmm.
my first ever place going somewhere. So, yeah.
Nice. And then how did you get accepted into Sacramento Ballet's second company?
So I did the NSIA audition in Kansas City and I got offered a bunch of summer intensives and then Sacramento Ballet also offered me a traineeship through that. And yeah, so I decided to take the leap of faith and move and to California. And um, I also had one of my mentors from UNCSA kind of tell me that she knew Jill and Anthony from
Mm,
Kansas City and that they would be good for me. So I went. Yeah.
nice. Yes, touching a little bit on NSIA, I feel like that was a godsend, especially for you and I, because
Mhm.
I think they started doing that in January of 2021,
Mhm.
which at the time I think I was in my junior year of high school, and so were you.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I feel like it really helped, and they're still doing that today, right?
Yeah, I know that they're definitely still doing it and I would honestly recommend it to any person that wants to audition for summer intensives. They do market it as you could get like second company or traineeships,
Hmm.
and that is a plus. But it just besides the point, you can audition for tons of summer programs and not have to pay a bunch of audition fees. I think that it's a wonderful thing that was created.
So now you've been in Sacramento for the past year. You're now in your second year here. Can you
Mhm.
describe a little bit of your time as a trainee at Sacramento
Yeah,
Ballet?
yeah. So obviously, it was definitely an adjustment moving to California, coming from a small town in Kansas, and Boise was also definitely a small town. Getting adjusted to a bigger city, uh, and just living in California with there being so much traffic and just a bunch of things. Just a new location is always hard to move to. But
Hmm.
um, again, also Ballet Idaho is a lot more contemporary rep, so doing a lot more classical was fun and different than what I was doing the year prior. And then also doing point center was also
Hmm.
an adjustment. My feet were definitely hurting the first month, but I didn't get that anywhere else. At UNCSA, we didn't do that as much, and then Idaho is optional. So yeah, so it was definitely my trainee year was definitely good. I did sprain my ankle during Nutcracker, so that was kind of
Oh,
a hard
right.
time. Yeah, that was a hard time just because I was missing out on the whole Nutcracker season, and then I was like, oh no, I have to audition in like a month, so it was just like a lot to kind of go through. But
Yeah.
I would say
Yeah.
overall it was a fun time, and then I got promoted, and I've been enjoying my experience so far.
Yeah. Oh my
Mm.
God. I remember that. that week that you sprained your ankle. We were that was tech week. That was like
Mm,
what, like 1 or 2 nights before
it
opening
it
night.
was the first dress rehearsal. So I think we had a total of 3
Uh-huh.
dress rehearsals that week, and I did on the first one. So, yeah.
Oh wow, yeah. I remember just feeling so bad for you that
It was
day.
it was so bad because it was the last, like, one of the last steps of flowers. Like, I was so close to being done, and
Hmm.
I just pointed my foot, I guess, a little too hard, and I don't know what happened, but uh yeah, then I walked off, and Jill and Rhodes are amazing people, and they were definitely helping me through that moment. Jill like grabbed my foot and put it in the air, and Rhodes was like trying to console me, and I was just like, let's go back on stage, like I'm fine, I don't, like, I'm completely okay. Rhodes like, no, no, you hurt yourself for sure, like. But if they, yeah, I was ready to go back on that stage for some reason, but thankfully it's better now, knock on wood.
Yeah, that's good. Before I ask you how your year as an
Mhm.
SB2 has been so far, I just want
Mhm.
to go back to the UNCSA thing. You told me that you moved out at the age of 16.
Mhm.
Um, I'm just curious, and maybe you can tell me and the audience how that felt moving out at such a young age away from home.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good question. I feel like, honestly, it wasn't that hard. I was expecting it to be challenging and something kind of like, "Oh, no," but I think I was just so ready and excited for that next step that it was more just nervousness just like just like new experience and excitement. But yeah, my parents, even like when I was walking away from the car when they were saying goodbye, they were like, "That's it? You're not gonna cry? Like you're not gonna have a reaction?" But I think they were also like very proud. They were like, you know, she's ready for this. I think they were also like, it was a good parent moment for them to be like, okay, we don't have to worry. She's ready. But yeah, I think that I was just really ready for that next step. So it was definitely good. It was nerve wracking, but it was definitely good.
Yeah, that's good. Definitely
Mhm.
a lot better compared to me. Um, I was always that kid. I remember in kindergarten, I couldn't stand being away from home for like a prolonged amount of time. I cried
Mhm.
like every day for the first month that I was in kindergarten
Oh
because I just wanted to
no.
go back home. And I
Uh,
remember the first summer intensive that I dormed at, um, which was at Colorado Ballet. I wanted to go back home like
oh.
day one. Uh, and
Mm,
I knew I wanted to move out early, but I was
mm,
scared that I would want to go back home after moving out. But thank
yeah.
God, when I moved to Columbus, it wasn't actually that bad.
I feel I have that same experience where summer intensives, I want to leave right away. Like I was like, I don't want to be
Uh-huh.
here. I'm like, I'm ready to go home. I feel so lonely for summer intensives. But when
Mm,
I'm like, when I move away for a long period of time, I'm like, let's do this. I'm excited. Like, but I think it's just because like it's less of like a short period of time you're able to like kind of settle in.
right. Yeah. Yeah.
Mm,
Okay, so now for you, it's been about 2.5 months into your season as an SB2.
mhm.
Can you just kind of describe how it's been and what you've been doing lately?
Yeah, so I feel like right away the mental adjustment was okay, now I am the next level and I need to get ready to get into like apprentice level or company member. Um so that was like the major change mentally, was that mental shift of I need to now focus on getting ready for company, because I feel like when you're at a trainee level about to become SB2 or whatever is equivalent to that, you are technically at a good point. It's just getting to that next level of artistry. So,
Hmm.
just focusing on that and putting your technique and your artistry together is kind of the first mental shift that I dealt with. It's
Yeah.
also a little stressful, you know, you're trying to be amazing and perfect, which is not possible. So you're having to deal with that battle of like, I need to be perfect, but I'm also a human being, so I'll never be perfect. So it's just kind of like that thing of dealing with that. But I've also just tried to give myself grace a lot more and just try to be friendly, try to be that person in the studio that someone can talk to and ask a question on the
Hmm.
choreography, or just someone that can be nice to everyone. Of course, I have my moments where I don't want to talk to other people, but I try my best to be someone that can lean on one another, and
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Have you guys done any shows or any kind of performances lately, or
yeah,
in
yeah.
the two and a half months that you've been doing it?
Yeah, so as you were saying, we're getting ready for Dracula, but for the second company, we've had three shows. I've only been in one of them, but we first started with Ballet in the Park, which was super fun. We brought in a choreographer to do that, and we got to do a fun little like 70s themed, I think was, I don't remember the decade, but it was really, really fun. I think I just butchered the decade, but that's okay. Uh, but yeah, we did that, and then we also some of the trainees did like a farmers market kind of thing just to promote Dracula, and then some of the trainees also did some another performance to promote Dracula for and just a little outreach program.
Nice, nice. Yeah.
Yeah,
Our company season didn't start until like a whole month later after your season did.
yeah.
Um, but I think it was about a week or two into my season that I went and saw that Ballet in the Park performance, and it was very fun to watch. Um, yeah, just as someone who joined Sacramento Ballet's second company in its inaugural year, um, I think after watching that performance, I think you guys are in a good place, and I can tell that Jill and Rhodes are constantly striving for a better second company, uh, and I think you guys are in a good place.
Mm.
Yeah. Um. So moving on. At any point in the past 15 years you've been dancing, did you have any mentor to help guide you along the way?
Yeah, so I first starting out, like I was saying, my teacher, Miss Laura, was the reason why I got into ballet. She's the one that recommended the ballet studio, and I will always have a great debt to her because she is the reason why I'm here. Like, she is the reason why I'm doing ballet. Um, and she pushed me even when I was doing like baby ballet and didn't care and I was doing skips across the floor. She was always there to push me, and I'm very, very grateful for her. Then I also had a dance teacher that named Juan, and he was also very hard on me, but again, prepared me for everything that I needed to have a career. And then at
Hmm.
UNCSA, I had a lot of mentors. I had all my teachers were great resources, which is another reason why I loved that place. Was I feel like I could have talked to anyone and they would have been there for me. And Miss Sansoni at UNCSA is the reason why I went to Ballet Idaho, the reason why I went to Sacramento, because she recommended these places and thought it was going to be a good place for me. And she was right. You know, they were good for me and they helped me improve and they helped me grow. The one thing that like is that they were my teachers, so they weren't always something that I could say everything to, or
Hmm.
I couldn't like take them with me to the places that I was moving to, and uh with being in the professional world, my directors that I've had thus far have always been super supportive and always pushed me to be the best that I can be and always been there for me. But it is kind of hard to go on that line of they are my directors. I can't, always ask them the questions. They are still my bosses.
Hmm.
So
Right.
I think that's the one thing that I've always kind of wanted is a mentor that isn't really connected and can give me a different side of things. Like they've been through it, but they can give me something else.
Mhm. Right. Well, speaking of having a mentor in our lives, Emma, would you like to talk a little bit about Creative Generations?
Yeah, so I have been a part of Creative Generations for about 2 months. Rhodes originally introduced it to me, kind of just being a part of their trial group. And I have definitely enjoyed my experience thus far. I originally started talking with Derek, and he kind of just like talked to me for 45 minutes and just kind of helped me through some things that I was going through. Outside of the studio, inside the studio, he was definitely like someone that I've never really experienced. Like everyone always wants to help, but only to a certain point. And so I thought that that was very refreshing and I really enjoyed that. And then after that, I started talking to my other mentors, and it was just amazing. I am able to talk to them about almost anything that I feel. They answer my questions with the best of their ability from their experiences, from their careers, from advice that they've been given, and it's just amazing. And now they have a nutritionist, they have a dance wellness, that it's amazing. Like it's everything in one place that a dancer will need to be successful in his career.
Nice. So, Emma, can you just give us a kind of a general daily schedule of what it's like to be an SB2?
Yeah, so it depends on if we're with the company or not. But I'll kind of just give a general day in the life for myself. It's different for everyone, but I wake up at 7:30, and I like a long time to get ready at the studio. I like to warm up for a very long time. So I get there around 8:15, 8:30, and then class starts at 9:30 and it's done at 11. And then we have around a 15-minute break, and then we have 3 hours of rehearsal, and then we have lunch. And then if we're with the company, it's another 3 hours. And then if we're not, we just only have one more hour. So it's if we're not with the company, we get done at 3:55. And then if we are with the company, we get done at 6:15. And so, and then sometimes I will also work at the front desk, or I teach, or I have the day off and I do schoolwork. So, yeah.
Nice. Could you just describe a little bit more when the second company is not working with the main company on their productions, what you guys kind of focus on during your day?
Yeah. So, mainly we have class. So, if we have a show coming up, we work mainly on that. So for Ballet in the Park, we were working on our ballet piece and then also our contemporary piece that we were going to perform. But when we kind of have a little bit of a lull in our schedule, we'll have either point, partnering, conditioning, Pilates. But once Dracula's over, we're going to be combining our SB2 schedule with also the company. So we'll be working on Nutcracker. We're going to do a choreographic workshop, which I'm also choreographing, which I'm very excited about. Hopefully,
Nice.
it looks good. um, but I have two wonderful dancers, so I'm not worried about that at all. And then we're also doing Nutcracker Tea, which is just a little performance, little teaser for Nutcracker for little kids. And then we have Nutcracker, of course. This year we're doing a new performance with, I think, I don't know a lot of the details about it. And then we have our end of the year show where we do a trainee focus piece, we do a SB2 focus piece, a combined, we do excerpts from whatever rep they want us to do, and just stuff like that.
Nice. Nice. Can you we're gonna backtrack a little bit, but can you
Mm.
tell me what the hardest part about growing up as a dancer was for you?
Mm. I feel like it was like not being able to really relate to a lot of like my friends in high school and middle school. I'm getting a little deep, but I feel like had friends, but I feel like not a lot of them could relate that I already knew exactly what I wanted to do with my life.
Hmm.
And because of that, I felt like I couldn't really be a kid. I was very driven and really focused towards my goal. So I did miss out on a lot of like childhood experiences. But looking back on it, I don't regret it. I don't look and be like, man, I wish I would have gone to more football games and, all of that. But I'm very thankful for my younger self for being driven and knowing what she wanted to do, so she made it happen. But obviously there were sacrifices being made. Like I
Yeah.
didn't really have a social life unless it was hanging out with my dance friends.
Gotcha.
Mhm.
Okay, so let's move on to some more general questions. Do you prefer jumps or turns?
So I would say out of those two, I would say I would prefer jumps because I love Grand Allegro and Medium Allegro. Petit Allegro I could do without, but Grand Allegro and Petit Allegro are very different. And so I really like
Hmm.
moving across the floor and getting to do these big jumps. So I'd say I like Grand Allegro, and I do not like turning. I which is so bad because I need to change my mental block for it so I can start turning and be able to be good at it. But for some reason, just need to get over it. But I would say I like jumps more than turns.
Jumps more than turns.
Hmm.
Um, nice. Do you have like a favorite part of ballet class?
Yeah. So I like I like ronde jambs because I feel like that's the most freeing part of bar. You are very much like straight up for all of the bar, and then finally ronde jambs you're finally really able to really let go in your port de bras and just be free. And so I think that's
Hmm.
probably my favorite, but I also really like adagio at bar, at center. That's definitely, I always hate when the teachers skip adagio because I'm like, please, I'd much rather do an adagio than 15 turns across the floors. But yeah,
You like adagio at bar?
yeah.
I only prefer adagio in center.
I just like adagio in general. So
Well,
I
that's good.
just,
That's good.
yeah.
Um, okay. Can you call out a favorite piece of rep that you've performed? And we can break this down into classical and non-classical if you like.
Mm, hmm. See, I like that's really hard for me to answer because nothing like pops to my head. Like classical, the first thing that pops into my head is Nutcracker. Not all versions of Nutcracker, but I love flowers. Like I
Hmm.
like the port de bras that comes along with flowers. I like I would say just like I haven't done it that many times. I've only done it for like 4 years. So I'm not annoyed of it yet, but I would say that's one of my favorite things. Is it's a classic and it always comes back. It's always something you're going to do.
Yeah.
And then for contemporary, I've done a lot of very cool contemporary rep, but the first thing that comes to mind is my first year at Sacramento Ballet. We did at Beer and Ballet, we did a piece called Nocturnal Bliss by Tondao, and it was the first ever pas that I did. And it was honestly like a really great experience. I was not expecting to get to do it, so I'm very thankful for that. And it was a great learning opportunity. I had a great partner that supported me through it, which was really nice. That makes the difference for sure. And so, yeah, I would say that that was probably one of my favorite things.
Nice. Nice. Yeah. I feel like that was a really good opening piece for the second company to do. Um,
Mhm.
we actually both performed that same paw. I didn't do it
Yeah.
with you. I did it with someone else.
No.
But
Yeah.
yeah, it's kind of funny realizing that now that we did the same paw in separate casts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. Did you like
Um,
it? Did you like
I
doing
enjoyed
it?
it. Yeah. Yeah. I feel like
Mhm.
it was very challenging. but like a level of challenging that I needed, and I think my partnering improved a lot, especially from that
Mm,
piece. Yeah.
nice.
Okay. Um, what is the scariest slash most embarrassing experience you've had, either on stage or in the studio?
Hmm. Okay, for scary, it's not in the studio or in rehearsal. It's
Oh,
just
where
the
was
first
it?
thing. It was like kind of just an experience, like a build up kind of thing, I would say. I
Oh,
would
I
say like
see.
the scariest time was when I was about to graduate from UNCSA and I didn't know what my future was. It was kind of like,
Mm.
will I go to college or will I go into the real world and go to a traineeship and do all of that? And so I think that was probably like, I wouldn't say scary, but it was definitely a nerve wracking time where I was just like,
Mhm.
it all kind of led up to this. That was the end of my high school training, and now it was time for the real career to start. And so that was definitely scary. Now, embarrassing, I have a lot of embarrassing moments in the studio, on stage. I am very, very clumsy, so I fall a lot. I think it's quite bad. Like I mean, I've fallen on stage a lot. Like at UNCSA when I did flowers, I think I fell like a total that floor at Stevens Center. If anyone has ever danced on it, it's super duper slippery. So I think I fell like
Mm.
almost every single show that I danced. Um, some of them were not full like falls, but it was fine. But I think I think also I like dropped a weight on my toe once, and people won't let me live that down. Just I fall all the time in rehearsal. Like I fell in snow rehearsal. I just have a lot of embarrassing fall moments, I would say.
Mm. Yeah, it's okay. I feel like that's something that makes you special and unique.
My one of my old teachers said that if when you fall, he's like proud of it because that means you're really going for it. So
Yeah,
I've
that's
like every
true.
time I fall, I'm just like, that's what it is. I'm just really, really going for it. So
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Yeah, you can take it that way if you want.
yeah.
Okay. Let's see. Has there been a moment on stage or in rehearsal that still resonates with you today?
Mhm. I would say I don't really necessarily have a moment on stage. I would say it's mainly in rehearsal that it's been like multiple rehearsals. Just any time where I'm being coached and the person in the front of the room just kind of like gives some faith to me. Like just says, "Emma, you can
Mm,
do this. Emma, you got this." Just like kind of like hypes me up, just
yeah.
kind of tells me that I can do it and I just need to like let go and just believe that I can also do it. I think anytime that's ever happened, I can like calm down and I'm able to do it. And I think that kind of sticks with me is just knowing that my teachers believe in me and just like the people around me are like, you're doing good. Just let yourself believe that has always been something that's will always stick with me because it's just like
Hmm.
sometimes it's not something you believe. And so knowing that someone is like, you got this, it's very nice.
Yeah. Um, and I don't know about you, but I personally wish I could get more of that, a little more often than
Hmm.
than we usually do. I feel like maybe for me, it's about once every 3 or 2 months that it happens. But yeah,
Hmm.
I don't know. That's just me get on my
I,
soapbox now,
I
but
think also like part of it is we'll get a good job or like but we just like kind of brush it off sometimes.
oh yeah, for
Like,
sure.
Joseph, you're an amazing turner, and people all the time will be like, "Oh, you're so good at turns,"
No,
and
don't say
some
that.
like And
Yeah, this is
sometimes
exactly what you're talking about.
and sometimes like it's kind of just brushed off. But like, sometimes you don't let yourself kind of let your teacher let them say a good job to you. Sometimes like you get in
Right.
your this isn't just you. This is I feel like just
Yeah, yeah,
everyone
yeah,
in
yeah.
general like likes to get in their brain and kind of just forget, oh, they just said good job to me. Okay, maybe I did do a good job even though it felt absolutely terrible. Maybe I did actually do
Hmm.
somewhat of a good job on so
Yeah. Yeah, I can resonate with that because I feel like I'll get a compliment, but I don't fixate on it too long. Sometimes I
mm,
feel like I don't deserve the compliment, and I'm always just
mm,
looking for what I can do to make whatever I'm doing better. So yeah,
mm,
I think we need to spend more time just hearing that comment out, and let it make you feel good for just a little bit longer.
yeah, because there's definitely a fine line of, okay, that was good, but there's always room to improve. But it's at the end of the
Hmm.
day, there is something good with what you're doing.
Right.
There's
Yeah.
yeah.
All right. Well, let's get a little bit more serious now. Um,
Oh man.
are you afraid of not making it into the dance industry successfully?
See, I've like had a lot of conversations with other dancers that have either thought about quitting or have quit. And I think that at the end of the day, I think everyone's a little bit scared about not making it because it's like, what else would I be doing? Or it's just like, my dream's actually over kind of thing.
Hmm.
Um, but I think there's so many ways to be a part of the dance world without having to be at your absolute dream company and dancing professionally. There's so many ways to be a part of that dream. And your dream can change over time. I think that dance will always be a part of my life, and I don't think I would be dancing right now if I didn't think I could make it. Like some part
Hmm.
of me wouldn't think that I could make it. Um, Now, of course, there are some days where I'm like, I'm terrible. I'm the worst dancer ever. Why did I get promoted? Why am I here? Who thought that I was a good dancer? Like, what is happening? And then other days I'm like, okay, she can kind of dance a little bit. Like, but yeah, I think at the end of the day, like we all believe in ourselves a little bit, or we wouldn't be dancers, or we wouldn't like.
Right.
But I think it's just kind of like letting the false reality kind of get out of the way and look at
Hmm.
reality. And it's like, okay, we're all good
Right.
dancers. And sometimes it's all about being at the right place in the right time and being what they want. And it's nothing about your dancing ability.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. And I don't know about you, but I feel like this is just, and it doesn't come from any specific person, just the places I've been and danced at. I feel like there's just kind of like this unspoken like thing, like where if you don't make it professionally, then you've kind of failed. But I feel like that
Hmm.
just comes a lot from the people who uh, are too deep into what they do, and they just kind of make dance everything about their whole lives, and
Hmm.
they can't accept that nothing else is going to work out for them.
Yeah. I think that's like definitely a stereotype is like there is no plan B for dancers.
Right. Yeah.
But I feel like there's a plan B in with still being a dancer. There's just because you don't make it to be a professional dancer, like a principal dancer, and you're like the top of the ballet company at Sacramento Ballet, it doesn't mean that you failed. It doesn't.
Hmm.
It doesn't mean that you can't be satisfied with your career. Like you should find joy in all of the simple moments, like just being able to be in the room dancing, which is like one of my mentors at Creative Generations like said to me, is just being in the room getting to dance is a joy. Is the fact that
Right.
you are able to dance and your body's healthy enough, and that alone is a success. And meeting all of these wonderful people along the way is also amazing, and just getting to be yourself on stage at the end of the day is the best part.
Right. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Well, I feel like you kind of already answered the next question, but uh, I want to know what still keeps you dancing to this day.
Yeah, so when I was growing up, I think that I always kind of just really, really loved dance. I loved how hard it was and that it was something like I was like, I can keep improving on and I can just push myself to be the best. And then as I got older, like UNCSA, I was like, okay, I don't think I'm ever gonna be the best. I think that I will be good and I will push myself to be one of the best, but there's always gonna be someone better than me. And so I was like, okay,
Hmm.
what can make me stand out? And I was just like, me being myself, me putting myself out there on stage or just in studio in whatever, and just letting myself dance. It can be very scary and vulnerable, but it's one of the most freeing things. And I think that's why I love contemporary so much is because it's you're able to
Mm,
kind of do that a little bit more. You're not having to be this character. But I think that's what I like the idea that with my dancing, I can make an impact on other people. Like someone in the audience is able to feel a certain type of way about what's happening on stage because of the way that I'm expressing my arms or the way that I'm presenting my foot to the audience, just whatever.
right.
I just like the idea of making someone's day or just like impacting someone through my dancing is what keeps me going.
Nice. I like that answer. That's a very good answer.
Mm.
Um, well,
What
kind of
keeps you
along
going, Joseph?
what keeps me going.
Yeah.
Uh, Honestly, when we're like really into the thick of it, rehearsing
Mm.
for whatever we're about to perform, it starts to get exhausting. I mean, right now, I'm not gonna lie, I'm feeling a little burnt out from all these
Mm.
rehearsals. But we're about to head into the theater, and I think what refreshes me is just performing for an audience, to be honest. Um,
Mm.
every time there's an audience, I don't necessarily think about anything. I just kind of dance, and I think 9 times out of 10, I will just enjoy myself on stage and just appreciate that the fact that there's people
Mm.
watching and appreciating what we're doing on stage. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So kind of in the lines of what keeps you dancing, I am a firm believer that we cannot make dance our whole world. We cannot make it our whole lives.
Mm.
Um, we have to have other things that keep us going. So my question for you is, do you have any hobbies slash passions
Yeah.
that are not dance?
So yeah, I like to choreograph, which is a new found kind of passion. It doesn't come super naturally at me, but like I do enjoy it.
Hmm.
But that is dance related. So let me come up with something not dance
Yeah, it's okay.
related.
It's okay. You
um,
did mention that you're choreographing for the
yeah.
choreographic workshop, so
um, Outside of dance, I just really like hanging out with friends and talking to like people on the phone and just like overall just being around people, listening to podcasts if that's how I really like being around people and
yeah.
all of that. But I am very into Legos, which is very nerdy, but I really like that. And I'm getting a degree in marketing management right now. So that also takes up a lot of my time, even though I like to procrastinate it, it does take up time.
Yeah, so I'm glad you brought that up.
Mm.
Being in school right now, getting a degree in marketing. Can you just talk about, you know, you right now, you at the in the first half of the day, you are dancing, doing your SB2 related duties. And then after that, you are working. You have a job working the front desk at Sac Ballet, and you also teach
Mhm.
at another studio. And on top of that, you're trying to get a degree. So, can you talk
Yeah.
about how that impacts you from your day to day?
Yeah. Yeah. So sometimes I forget how much I do because it doesn't feel like a lot. And then I tell people what I all do, and they're like, "Wow, that's a lot." But honestly, it just like I enjoy being busy. I think that that's part of the lifestyle of dancers is we like to be busy and then
Mm.
at the end of the day kind of like collapse in our bed and fall asleep. Uh, but I like I said I procrastinate my schoolwork. So I'm trying to get better at it. But yeah, I enjoy what I do. I think that the jobs that I have is to make sure I can keep dancing and support myself. Um, and so I don't find it as something that is hindrance because it's something that I enjoy doing. It's in order so I can keep my dream afloat kind of thing. So I don't know, it's my life. Yeah.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah, it just
Mhm.
you get so used to it eventually. Um,
Mhm.
you know, I recall I had a nice long summer break. This was the longest summer break that I had, and it was very nice. I'm not gonna
Mhm.
lie, the first few weeks that I came back for the season is very hard adjusting to having to work for 5 days and only getting 2 days off. But now I'm at a
Mhm.
point where it's normal to me.
Yeah.
It yeah. um, and on top of that, we have to like we live by ourselves. We have to cook every day. Not every day, but
Mhm.
we have to cook for one day to prep for the week. We have to pay bills, clean our
Yeah.
apartments, and do a lot of adult stuff. So yeah,
Mhm.
dancers are definitely
Yeah.
very busy.
Yeah.
um, all right. Well, my next question for you, Emma, is how do you continue to grow as a dancer?
Mhm. When I was a kid, I would just try to like take all the corrections that I could and run with it. But I feel like now it's one of those things where you now know how to do everything and there's so much to think about just to do a passe. Like there's so much you have to do. And
Oh yeah.
so it's just a matter of remembering little cues to make sure you're doing that so then you can keep improving on top of that. And listening to what they're correcting me on is a big thing as well. And, you know, sometimes it takes me a second to implement the correction, but making sure that I am trying to make that correction even if it takes me
Hmm.
a day. Like I'm trying to think about it and I'm trying to do it. Um, and then also listening to what other people are saying. Is with me being injured right now, I can't necessarily do like jumps or sometimes turns if it's hurting my foot. But I'm still listening to what the teachers are saying to hopefully learn. And then when I come back, I'm still having those things in my head. I'm still having those corrections floating around. And then I've recently started doing Pilates because my mentor told me that I should do it. So
Mm.
I've started taking Elise's conditioning classes, which are so hard, and the Pilates shakes are real. And so I started dealing with that, but I do that 3 times a week, and then I'm also trying to keep up on my Pilates, PT exercises. And then I also
Mm.
just try to take care of myself outside of the studio, with that being rolling out my muscles, um, putting some like cream on my legs so I can cup them, kind of just stuff like that.
Hmm.
And then icing my feet, just trying to take care of my body so then when I wake up the next day, I'm able to then keep going that way. Yeah.
Nice, nice. I actually like that answer a lot. You know, I thought you would
Mm.
have given kind of more kind of mental well-being related questions, but I think I guess I personally I always forget that my body is my most important tool for this job.
Mm.
And so I usually forget to take care of it, especially at the end of the day. I like to just
Yeah.
go home and rot on my couch. But yeah, it's very important as dancers that we
Yeah.
take care of our bodies in the best way possible.
Yeah. And I mean, like mentally, it is also good to have a good mental space. I mean, as I'm learning
Right.
and improving that way. I'm also trying to remember that my mental health is just as important as my physical health, and they go
Hmm.
together. Like if you're mentally not okay, then your physical health will go down. If your physical health isn't good, then you're mentally not going to be okay. So just trying to keep both of them in a good place helps your dancing work out better too.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Mm.
Okay, so what do you personally think it takes to be successful in this industry?
Yeah, so I mean, part of it is working hard and having a good attitude and being someone that want to be around. Like if you are not nice to your fellow dancers, like the people in the front can notice. I mean, like as growing up, you really are like, oh, they don't pay attention to me, they never look at me. And I mean, even now sometimes I think that, but they can see everything. They know what's happening. So just trying to be a good person and trying to be that, I think, and working hard, they can definitely tell.
Hmm.
And then part of it is just being in the right place at the right time, and it can be just like literally just sending your audition tape at the right moment where they're looking for a brunette 5'8" person that can fill the role. It's just
Right?
like
Yeah.
sometimes it has nothing to do with the fact that you can't dance. It could be something that's completely out of your control, that they have no jobs available, or you just don't quite fit the company, or it's just other factors that could not be affected at all, the way that how you dance.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I like what you said about being a good person in the workspace or in the rehearsal space. Um,
Mm,
I think a misconception I had, or just not a misconception, but like I guess the idea of dance that I had, especially as a child, was like
mm,
it that I just want to strive to be like this amazing soloist dancer that everybody's gonna watch and appreciate. But really, that's not the reality. I think a very important part of being a dancer is being a good team player and being able to work well with your fellow dancers, your artistic director, and your artistic staff. I think that's more important than being a quote unquote good dancer.
yeah, for sure. I mean,
Yeah.
like even with Dracula, like there's been so many people that have had to switch spots, just like trying to mess around with things, and just
Hmm.
having a good like attitude towards that has made just such a big difference. Like everyone having such a good attitude towards it and just being very nice to each other, forgiving. And, especially when you're partnering with someone, it's nice, like being friendly with your partner,
Right.
uh, it helps that relationship. And so I think that's like, it's nice to be a good person in the dance world.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. There's sometimes there's gonna be a coworker or dancer who you're not the most crazy about, but I feel like, once you're rehearsing, you just gotta let go of that crap and just be nice
Mm-hmm.
to them and be decent to them and
Yeah.
do your best to work well with them.
Yeah. What happens outside of the dance studio shouldn't be brought into the dance studio, which is easier said than done.
Hmm.
But it's just you try your best. It's also mentally a lot better if you try not to, if you leave it at the door.
Right. Yeah, for sure. Um, okay, so for you, Emma, how much does dance feel like a passion and how much does it feel like a job for you?
I feel like I've never really looked at dance as a job. Like, especially this year, I get paid, but I don't think of it as a job, if that
Hmm.
makes sense. It's just something that now I get paid for. I don't have to pay for it. Um, but everything outside, I'm like, oh, this is my job. This is what I do. Like, so I feel like it's a lot of it is still love and passion towards dance.
Hmm.
But then there are some days where I have to put in the work. It doesn't feel like work, but I have to put the extra mile of like, okay, Emma, I know you really don't want to do this class right now, but you're gonna put on your big boy pants and you're gonna do these plies and you're gonna whatever.
Right.
Um, you're just gonna try to do the best that you can, even if you don't want to. And then as soon as I start plies, I'm like, okay, I like dance. Ooh, this is so fun. So it's just like kind of getting over that mental hump right away, and then just
Hmm.
remembering that's like, okay, this, I have to put in some work, but it will be good in the long run. Kind of just showing up for yourself.
Yeah. Um, yeah, and even if you have like a crappy day, it's not the end of the world. It's just that one day. It always gets better.
Hmm.
I think as
Yeah.
dancers, we we kind of, if something bad happens, we tend to focus on that more and kind of just dig ourselves in a hole thinking about that one
Mhm.
negative thing that happened in rehearsal. But
Yeah.
yeah, if you could give your younger self or any young dancer any kind of advice, what would it be?
Hmm. Um. Hmm. I would say trust yourself a little bit more. I feel like
Hmm.
as a young kid, I never really like trusted my abilities. And I think that faking confidence is sometimes okay as long as it doesn't
Hmm.
turn into an ego. But I think just like
Right.
kind of believing in yourself, even if sometimes you don't have what to back it up. I think that is the advice that I would give, is just like believe in yourself and trust in your abilities and just show what you have to offer. And at the end of the day, if they don't like you for you, then that's not the right place for you. You know, just be yourself, and that's just all you can ask for. And you can't fake anything in this industry, unfortunately, because the at the end of the day, if you can't do the four pirouettes, they can tell. Like they know. And so it's just like be yourself and be unapologetic about it.
Yeah, I think that's really good advice. I think
Thank
I
you.
think that that's some I think that's something that comes with maturity and as you get
Mm,
older, but I think it's uh, the earlier you try and practice it, I think the easier it will be in the long
yeah.
run.
I mean,
Um,
it's something that I'm still working on.
my next question is, what would you do if you never became a dancer? What would you do if you never decided to go to UNCSA and then Ballet Idaho and then Sac Ballet?
Mhm. I feel like if I would have quit dance, like let's say I stayed at my home studio and I would have just gone to college and quit dance, I think part of me would have been a little sad. I think that's the stigma, is that once you're
Mm-hmm.
quitting the professional industry or you stop training, dance is done for your life. Like there's no going back. Um, and so I think that part of me would have regretted it, not even trying. But if I never would have ever been a dancer, if I just would have always done the sport, I I honestly don't even know what I would have done. I'm gonna be honest. I was bad at all sports. I did soccer, and I would always handball it. I would always try to catch it with my hands, and I wasn't even the goalie. Volleyball, I couldn't even make it over the net. Basketball, I'm too uncoordinated. I feel like I would probably be a runner. I feel like that would be something,
Hmm.
maybe. Um, but yeah, I think that's a good question, because like when I was little, I would try to think about like what my life would be without that, but I like could not think about what my life would be like, because it felt so right being a dancer, if that makes sense. It didn't
Hmm.
feel like I
Yeah.
was forcing to be a dancer. It was just like something that I was always meant to do. And now that I'm older, I can kind of like think of an idea of what I could do. Obviously, because I am getting a degree, and but I just like, I think part of me, especially with like creative generations, is definitely helps me kind of like navigate, is what I want out of my dance career, is kind of just like the next steps towards that. And just like if I were to not dance, I would be unsatisfied. And so just preparing for something that if someday I wake up and my leg is not there anymore, don't know how that would work, but if that just happened and I couldn't dance ever again, being able to be like, okay, I can start working towards something else and
Hmm.
I can do that. But I feel like dance is just definitely something that has always felt right in my life.
Mhm. Well, this last question kind of goes hand in hand with the last question I just asked you. But
Mhm.
after you are done dancing, what have you decided that you want to do afterwards?
It's an ever-changing idea. I think I I don't know, I feel like dance will never be fully over in my life, so I don't know, like,
Hmm.
necessarily what I would do there. Teaching doesn't necessarily, like, draw my way, but I feel like I'm getting a degree in marketing, so maybe doing some sort of form of marketing in a ballet company or in some sort of art. Like being at UNCSA, I have an appreciation for all kinds of arts. And I now kind of can, relate to other artists through that.
Hmm.
But project management is sounds kind of cool, I guess. I'm doing the leadership course, so who knows? Maybe start some sort of nonprofit for artists,
Oh, nice.
something fun, I don't know.
Yeah,
Mm.
gotcha. Well, that was our last question for the episode. Um, I'm very excited for the future of this show. Um, I'm glad that you are going to be my new co-host. I feel like it'll definitely be better for the show. It'll be a nice dynamic to have. Now, Emma and I have very different schedules, so I will try to do the show as consistently as I can. But Emma is far busier than I am. She's like actually a hard worker. I'm not. Like, I don't really
Don't
do
be
anything
uh,
outside of
who
this.
would say that?
But Emma won't be able to make some episodes, but she'll do her best to make as many episodes as she can. But yeah, as I said, I'm very excited. I hope the audience is excited.
Hopefully,
But
hopefully I don't get voted
yeah.
off the island.
But yeah, this has been episode 1 of Pirouettes and Perspectives, presented by Creative Generations, with your new co-host, Emma Wessel, who is an SB2 with Sacramento Ballet's second company.